Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. I am your host, Jonathan Cilia, joined by my co-host, Paula Kauki, and here are your headlines for today. Maskless woman fined after coughing on another woman in Sliema. Prime Minister warns street rebellions could hit Malta if lockdown is imposed. TV presenter announces she'll be Malta's first female transgender politician. Europol called in after foster child abducted by birth mother and taken abroad, and Chinese embassy approved to be built on green plot in Pembroke. Paula, I know the first story has been on a lot of people's lips and minds. You want to just take it away?
Mela jidher il-bira fil-11 ta' filgħodu fil-Franza ta' Sliema kien hemm kommozzjoni mhux tas-soltu, Lema kellix taqsam ma' karozzi u traffiku din id-darba, imma kommozzjoni bejn żewġ nisa. Mela, mill-lider kien hemm mara speed walking bil-mask, proset, li għaddiet minn dejn mara anzjana li kienet bla mask u mill-lider din il-mara anzjana salet f'wiċċ il-mara li kienet għaddejja timxi. Xi ħaġa illi fil-passat jaf kemm il-darba ġrat u qastatikatu tibqa' għaddej, imma le llum il-ġurnata kienet frott kontroversja qawwija. Mela mill-lider biex għal minn tisaqsi il-mara bla mask ingħatat multa, però il-mara li kienet mixja ma ratix biżżejjed u bdiet titlob li jittieħdu passi ulterjuri kontra din l-anzjana għaliex mhux sew illi fi żmien il-COVID wieħed jidħol f'wiċċek. Vera naqbel magħha, imma ma naqbilx mal-kunċett illi ġiel il-xi ħadd jagħmel swab. I mean, ma tistax taqbad il xi ħadd torbtu ma siġġu daħħallu l-swab f'imnieħru u tipo le. Int x'taħseb li għandha ssir xi ħaġa li jista' jiġu fuq il-pulizija l-awtoritajiet jista' jgħidulek swab issa.
The idea that a police officer can come up to you, grab you and say, listen, I'm compelling you to do a swab test is horrifying to me. It's very scary, sounds very dystopian, but that's actually what the family involved in the story were calling for. The family said, listen, we have kids, now we're going to have to get tested. We've been trying to be so safe, wearing our masks everywhere we go, just for this woman to cough on us. They didn't want to be put at risk, and they were quite concerned, Paula. They were quite worried. That said, calling for someone off the street to be grabbed by the police and swabbed
for coughing.
For coughing, for one cough on them, which is very condemnable, but is one cough. You know, it does seem a bit extreme. However, many people called for it. A lot of people say, listen, swab her for our safety. Here you get her off the streets and swab her, confirm that she's not COVID positive, so we can be, you know, have a better state of mind.
Issa li kieku din il-persuna hija persuna COVID positive u li ħarġet id-dar diġà nfakru li għandha l-multa tal-10,000. Jekk kienet kuntatt u qiegħda f'taħt kwarantina obbligatorja għandha multa oħra ta' 3,000. Ġifieri min jitkessa u ġest ħareġ mid-dar li bis maskra jew le u qiegħed suppostat kwarantina diġà għandu multa qawwija. Allura wieħed ma nafx hekk forsi xi daqsxejn ta' eżaġerazzjoni li meta xi ħadd ġieli tisol jew tixraq jew ikun ipejjeb jibgħati bix-xerqa biss alla ħares kull min jisol fuqek jispiċċa miġbur mill-pulizija.
What's interesting here is...
X'taħsbu intom imma?
Yeah, definitely let us know in the comments below, you know, should this woman be compelled to have a swab test? What's interesting to note here is that she was fined by a warden, and the warden told the people involved, you know, that when they spoke to the woman, she said she wasn't aware of any of these guidelines. So we might have a case of maybe a mentally ill woman here. It seems like the woman was elderly, so we don't exactly know what happened there, but definitely let us know in the comments below. Do you think people should be compelled to be tested? Moving on to the next story, obviously also COVID-19 related. Prime Minister Robert Abela has spoken out about whether the country should be put into a total lockdown, as we're seeing other countries such as Wales and other countries abroad go into total lockdown in a bid to halt the spread of this pandemic, this COVID-19 outbreak. He said, listen, quote, it's easy to close airports, it's easy to close shops and businesses, but should we? Can we? If we do, we might have another catastrophe. And he mentions the countries abroad where we're seeing serious protests and street riots. I saw some videos in Naples, in Italy, some in Spain. They were protesting in Berlin, in Germany, in London, in the UK. Some of them turning violent. So he said, listen, I can go into a lockdown like this, but do we want to go into a lockdown?
Jiena ma naħsibx li sew illi nerġgħu ngħaddu lil min bata fil-lockdown u li rnexxielu ma jkeċċix nies għaliex kien hemm l-għajnuna supplementari tal-gvern. Issa maġna jerġa' mill-lockdown, il-gvern jgħid sorry, m'għandix budget biex nerġa' nagħti dak is-supplementi u n-nies jispiċċaw bla xogħol. Issa, dan meta nżommu f'moħħna illi li kieku kull wieħed u waħda minna isegwi r-restrizzjonijiet u l-guidelines u jagħmel dak li jgħidu l-awtoritajiet tas-saħħa, in-numri tal-COVID jinżlu żgur. Mela għax hemm min iddejja jattim nieħru bil-maskra, għandi għalfejn nagħlaq l-ekonomija. Biżżejjed qegħdin ibatu tal-bars illi mill-lider ma setgħux ħafna minnhom mhux kollha jikkontrollaw lin-nies li jmorru għandhom biex isegwu l-linji gwida. Ġifieri għandna xorti qegħdin nippruvaw insibu bilanċ l-estremitajiet mhumiex tajbin.
I mean, just this week we spoke to multiple bar owners, restaurant owners, snack bar owners, and they are not doing very well. I can tell you two industries that are very close to my heart, the clubbing industry and the food industry. Both of them are suffering big time. It's not the first, second, third. We're, was 7th month, 8th month in with these guidelines, very limited access, limited restrictions. I can tell you that some DJs who have their full-time job as DJ are going through mental health crises right now. Restaurateurs have had to cut staff down, cut down hours. Now new guidelines came in that you can't open after 11, just restricting it even more. So I kind of understand what the Prime Minister is saying here. Mm-hmm. At the same time, calls for a total lockdown are increasing. We're hearing it from multiple areas in Malta. So I think this debate will continue. But do let us know in the comments below whether you think Malta should be entering a total lockdown.
Inħallu COVID hemmhekk kuna għandu nħarsu daqsxejn li l-atmosfera politika jidher li fl-elezzjoni ġenerali li jmiss Malta se jkollha l-ewwel kandidat trans. Angela Colero, l-preżentatriċi tar-radio illi ftit tax-xhur ilu kienet ukoll fuq il-headlines wara li kien hemm min jipprova jattakka għaliex hija trans. U fil-fatt spikka kemm kien hemm politiċi li batulna u biex jagħmlula kuraġġ jidher li tixtieq tagħmel differenza sa fuq skala nazzjonali u tikkontesta, però mhux mal-partiti li normalment qegħdin naraw persuni tal-komunità LGBTIQ jikkontestaw għaliex ħafna minnhom resqu lejn il-Partit Laburista, imma qiegħed tgħid li jiena ser inkun qed nikkontesta mal-Partit Nazzjonalista. Keeping in mind li Angela Colero sa ftit ta' snin ilu kienet waħda mill-preżentaturi ewlenin ta' Super One, dak iż-żmien kien għadu Super One, ġifieri di le mhix ħaterġa' tmur lura, ġifieri qalet mhux xi tip ta' sinjal li ħaniċċaqlaq. Però ħankun iva l-ewwel kandidata trans żgur għall-Partit Nazzjonalista sa naraw jekk il-Partit Laburista jkollux ukoll xi kandidat jew kandidata trans ukoll. Li kien hemm minn għalija l-kunsilli lokali kien hemm, però ġenerali ma jidher li ser tkun l-ewwel waħda u nawgurawla tal-pass li ser tagħmel.
I wonder if this is a new chapter for the Nationalist Party. I mean, obviously over the last few years we've seen members of the LGBTIQ community generally attracted to the Labour Party following reforms that they brought in. But now that we've got potentially the first major transgender politician in Malta joining the Nationalist Party, that could be quite an interesting new chapter. So we'll have to see how that develops. It's important to know that she said this quote, "No party or government enjoys a monopoly over the LGBTIQ community." So she's making it very clear that, listen, it doesn't matter what policies you've brought in, the community isn't owned by anyone. And while it's still early days, she's mentioned some topics that she's interested in. She said that she disagrees fully with the Vitals deal, the electric gas deal, and she's condemned what happened with the Panama Papers. And she's also mentioned that she wants to be the voice of the voiceless, mentioned animals and homeless people, as well as unborn babies as key issues that she's interested in. So still early days. We'll have to see how this develops.
Tikun hemm ukoll diskussjoni l-partiti u mhix xi darba ser jerġgħu jersqu lejn il-political ideology tagħhom, u ċoje l-Partit Nazzjonalista jsir iktar konservattiv u l-Partit Laburista aktar soċjalista, għaliex jew inkella ħannew kompletament li partit suppost jingħaqad fuq il-valuri. I mean jiena illi you pick and choose kemm meta tkun liberali u meta ma tkunx liberali għalija ma naqbilx magħha, kulħadd jagħmel li jrid, però ma sebet jara wkoll jekk il-Partit Nazzjonalista huwiex ser ibiddel il-policies u l-prinċipji li fuq u mibni l-Partit Nazzjonalista biex iwessa kif qed tajt inti l-valuri tiegħu wkoll biex iressaqhom lejn dawk iktar liberali, speċjalment fejn jidħol il-komunità LGBTIQ. Naqbel li għandu jsir hekk, ma nistgħux nibqgħu nirreżistu 2020, I mean hello, about time.
Yeah. So when is the next election? We can expect her
Mm-hmm.
to be contesting when the election date is announced. Moving on to the next story. This is a story that I was thinking about a lot. I think it's quite a shocking incident that happened in Malta, and I don't think this is the first time it happened. Europol, the European Law Enforcement Agency, has been called in to assist Malta after a mother illegally abducted her own daughter who was in foster care. So that's her natural birth mother, but the daughter was in foster care. Now this happened after the mother was given unsupervised access over the weekend to spend time with the daughter, time that the daughter herself had requested. She wanted to spend more time with the mother. However, it seems that the mother has taken advantage of the situation and took her daughter abroad using a false passport. When the family, the foster care family, realized, they let authorities know, they let police know. Officers went to the mother's house, found it totally locked up. They called up migration officials and they were able to confirm that they had gone abroad. And they've since been localized in a European country. Shocking case. I can't even imagine what the foster care family must be thinking.
Naħseb din hija l-ikbar nightmare ta' kull minnu foster carer li t-tifel immur għal-viżitu ma jirġax jiġi lura. Wieħed issa jistenna li l-awtoritajiet forsi jużaw dan l-inċident biex itejbu l-protokolli tagħhom biex jiservu wkoll ras min jidħol għal-foster care biex jieħdu iktar ħsieb tal-minuri għaliex hawnhekk il-minuri minkejja li qiegħda momma, orrajt nimmaġina illi qed taffettwa wkoll lilha mhijiex deċiżjoni fl-aħjar interess tat-tifla żgur li tisraqa u toħodha passaport fals pajjiż ieħor. Nisperaw li t-tifla tiġi lura u ma jkollix problemi permanenti, psikoloġiċi, u nisperaw li dawn l-affarijiet ma jirrepetux ruħhom, mhux huma stejjer tal-waħx. L-aħħar storja għalija hija kompletament differenti, però daqstant ieħor tal-waħx il-Planning Authority l-bieraħ approvaw illi f'Pembroke timbena iva l-ambasċata Ċiniża. Disclaimer, minn Pembroke.
Close to home, right?
U vera close to home, literalment. Hija xi ħaġa li tirrabja l-residenti ta' Pembroke illi sena wara irrid ikun hemm petition, irrid ikun hemm protesta, irrid ikun hemm ġlieda biex nissalvagwardjaw il-villaġġ tagħna li huwa diġà qisu l-Education Center ta' Malta bl-iskejjel li faqsu il-ħin kollu ma ġara xejn, però naħseb ħadd minnha ma maġina alla volja kien hemm petition għaddejja, ħadd minnha ma maġina illi l-Planning Authority ħadd tagħti kasna. Kont noħroġ ix-xampanja kieku tat kasna imma mela, għal dak forsi ma segwewx, l-ambasċata Ċiniża se tkun qed tibni fuq 20,000 metru kwadru ta' agricultural land f'Pembroke, se jtellaw 20 appartament residenzjali ma' din l-ambasċata, se jkun hemm ġinien kbir, okay? Però ovvjament se tkun qed tiekol parti sostanzjali mill-erja ta' Pembroke. Din mhijiex kwestjoni ta' politika, hija beyond il-politika, jekk wieħed jara il-permess ingħata biex tinbena din iż-żona taħt amministrazzjoni tal-PN, amministrazzjoni tal-PLB ħu din l-art, ġifieri jidher li l-politiċi kollha kienu on board, ovvjament mhux kulħadd jaqbel ma' din id-deċiżjoni.
So what's interesting here is that when the vote, when it came to approve this plan, only 2 people voted against it. That's NGO representative Kevin Borge and local councillor Anik Bonello. So obviously it was approved. What I found interesting was, obviously they've been doing this since 2015. That's when the proposal was first put forward. But what's interesting is that part of the proposal is there's a bit of a fee, a planning gain, which is there to offset the environmental impact that invariably comes with developing over a beautiful plot of green land. The Chinese government were able to reduce it from 478,000 to 350,000. So a nice little discount to go alongside the 20,000 square meters of green land in Pembroke. I mean, listen, I understand that, a country like China, we're talking about a superpower here. This is, an America.
Ma nimmaġinax li Pekin kienet ħatwaqqaf jew tkisser xi relazzjoni diplomatika bħal ma' Ċina ma one would like to hope li f'dinja ideali.
I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. From myself and from Paula, have a day full of love.
episode of Lovin Daily was brought to you by Chevo by Wayne.